guys, welcome back. As always, it's been a while. If you're new here, welcome, and if you've been around for a while, welcome back. As you saw in the title of this video, this is the first of a two-part series in which I'll be discussing my recent Topik experience, where I improved from a very low level 3 to a decent level 5 in a year. I know if you're studying Korean full-time at a language school, this isn't super impressive. However, since I was working full-time and I didn't devote my life to Korean, I'm pretty satisfied with this result and my progress. This video in particular will be about the methods I use to actually improve my Korean ability and solidify my foundation, also known as Phase 1. And the next video, aka Phase 2, will be on specific topic tips and techniques. I believe in order to get the best score you can, you need both ability and exam taking techniques. Phase 1 was essentially mass input and immersion for about 8 or 9 months, with 3 of those months using flashcards daily. And Phase 2 was a much more specific aimed topic exam prep. In terms of a timeline, Phase 1 was for about 8 or 9 months, and Phase 2 was much shorter, just about 1 or 2 months. So what was Phase 1? To be honest, for Phase 1, I studied or immersed extremely consistently, but not for many hours each day. I didn't study any new grammar and I rarely used textbooks. Phase 1 was a marathon and not a sprint. I think for the most part, in Phase 1, I did not study or immerse for more than 1 hour a day, usually about half an hour to 45 minutes. The key was consistency, which I will mention again later. It is also worth noting that I do currently live and work in South Korea, so I'm immersed in Korean daily. However, that is not enough. I also have prior knowledge of Chinese, so I did have an advantage with Hanja. But even so, I'm extremely satisfied with the progress I made last year. So back to the main question. What exactly did I do for Phase 1? The focus of Phase 1 was comprehensible input. If you follow my studygram, you'd know I mentioned this a lot, but really I cannot recommend it enough. And there were essentially 3 or 4 main parts of Phase 1. I focused on reading, listening, vocabulary, and speaking to a lesser extent, and no writing at all. For reading, I tried to read for about 30 minutes each day or around 10 pages a day. I didn't always make it, but something is better than nothing. Just showing up is super important. I ended up reading about 1 Korean graded reader, 2 Who comic style books, and more or less 5 novels, with many more half-read and unfinished books during that time. At the start, it's not easy because there's just so much new vocabulary, but just keep going. You can do it. I think it's so important to cultivate the habit of reading for meaning. It's okay to not understand everything. If you can follow the story and understand most, then that's okay. This will be a huge help for preparing yourself for Topik, as it's important to guess words and meaning from context. You'll never know everything, so resist the temptation to look up every single word, as it also slows down the amount of reading you can do. If it's hard at first, you can try a graded reader or a comic, or you can even just read a book you already know the storyline of. That way you only have to decode the Korean language itself and not the story. I also read the News in Korean textbook and 문화가 있는 한국어 읽기. Level 3 and level 4, these were the only textbooks I even touched during this period. Again, I read the articles and I didn't even look at the questions until I was in Phase 2 of my topic prep. The sun is coming in. For listening, I had the goal to listen to an audiobook each month, so I had my daily listening goals as well. During that time, I listened to about 6 different audiobooks, and if I include the times I listened more than once, then I listened to around 10. Audiobooks are absolutely amazing for listening and solidifying Korean ability in general, or any language. When I listened, I would usually listen without stopping to pause and check anything. Like reading, this built the habit of listening for details because I knew I was unlikely to stop and check. If I heard a word or phrase just repeated many times and was still unsure or curious, only then would I occasionally check it. Or if something really obstructed my understanding, then I would check it. I'm sure there were times I missed details or misunderstood things, but I'm not overly concerned about it, to be honest. This allowed me to get more input than I may have otherwise got. I listened to all my Korean audiobooks on the audio clip app. For those not in Korea who would like to access it, I recommend checking out a post made by Matilda. You can find her studygram at Langbujo, and it's extremely detailed and has all the steps you need to set it up from abroad. I'll put a link in the description, so be sure to check it out. For vocabulary, I used an advanced Korean Memrise deck, which was already pre-made by someone. I only spent about 3 months using the deck. As for me, vocabulary drilling isn't sustainable long term. I don't find it super fun, but I have to admit it can be useful when sprinting, so to speak. I used it pretty religiously each day and learned about 15 new words each day, while also being sure to review the previously learned words during that time. I'll link the deck I used during that time as well as the intermediate one from the same series which I used before passing Topic 3 the year before. In my opinion, both of the decks and books for the most part have very common words which I saw and heard a lot when immersing. I think if you're going to use a pre-made flashcard set as a way to study, you absolutely must be exposing yourself to lots of input and immersion. This way you're constantly reviewing the new words naturally. I've read a few blog posts on this, and I also agree from personal experience that vocab is far more important when taking Topic 2 than grammar. You do not need to learn advanced grammar to get a high Topic score, but you need to know advanced vocabulary. So make vocabulary a big part of your study plan. As for speaking, I had about 1 to 2 hours of conversation class on Italki per week. Each lesson was unplanned and just purely conversation. While I don't think this is the key reason that I improved, I think it did boost my confidence when speaking and also exposed me to some more relevant topic vocabulary. One teacher also introduced idioms for about 15 minutes per lesson, which was also a little bit useful. I just want to retouch on consistency. Habit stacking and daily goals is so important. Make it a part of your daily routine. The less energy and resistance needed to begin a task, the more likely you're actually going to do it and keep doing it. This is what I learned from reading Atomic Habits. If 10 pages seems too hard, set the goal at 1 or 2. It's better to show up than do nothing. This is the mindset that you need to cultivate. I know I'm repeating myself, but I just want to make it clear. It's better to have a low goal where you show up than an ideal and unrealistic goal which you can't keep to. Building sustainable goals and systems is key. Make it a part of your daily routine. For example, before work, I will review 15 words and learn more words. In my lunch break, I will listen to an audiobook while sitting or walking, and before bed, I will read 10 pages. But also make it specific. So I will read this book, I will look at these words, just know what you're going to do. The key is doing it. It doesn't necessarily feel like you're achieving much at the time, but when you look back, all the little things add up. It will be worth it. From this method, I was able to increase my score from a low 3 to a 4 in just under a year. This is before I started phase 2. The next video will show and give more specific study tips and methods to how I was able to increase that low 4 to a 5 within just 1 month. But bear in mind, in reality, my Korean ability did not improve during that month where I went from a 4 to a 5. The actual improvement was made over the year, you doing the immersion, reading, listening, etc. Just remember that. I was able to understand the same things with a low 4 and a mid-level 5. However, my exam taking skills improved a lot. So just remember, if you do end up taking Topik and don't do as great as you wanted to, don't get too caught up about it. It does not, I repeat, it does not fully represent your Korean level, rather your ability to take Korean exams, as I experienced firsthand. I strongly believe that a firm foundation and practical skills is so much more important than exam taking skills. A person can have Topik level 6 and not be able to speak well, and another person can use Korean super well in their daily life but just struggle in exams. If you're only wanting to improve your Korean level, I recommend just stick with lots of input and speaking practice. This will not fail you. However, if you need a high Topik score, then please watch my next video, as it will have specific exam tips and techniques, as well as Topik textbooks, which I highly recommend. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day and see you next time. Bye!